Whether you think you are or don't think you are a creative person. And your creativity, when fed right, utilized right, you know, it will help you grow spiritually and develop your spiritual gifts that you so need to be able to create a life you love. Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse Spirit Guides want me to share with you today their intuitive guidance and also my personal experience about how creativity and spirituality, spiritual practices, helped my spiritual gifts develop, and they want to help you develop your spiritual gifts, okay? Hi, I'm Deepa, and I call myself the Creative Mystic, and I used to be a non-visual person. If a guided meditation happened and they said, see the golden ball of light or the white rose or the whatever they'd said to see, I saw nothing. And through feeding my creativity and bringing it together with spiritual practices, my gifts grew. And I began having visions of spirit guides, and they started giving me downloads of what kind of vibration and energy and consciousness they want to bring to you to help you in your life. So, welcome to my sacred space, and this is all about us creating Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse together. But most importantly, they're telling me to tell you, it's about creating the sacred space where you are. Not only the physical space, because that's what we're going to do here, is create that sacred space here in my art studio, but wherever you are watching this, to create that sacred space where you are. And most importantly, they're saying, and they say this every week we get on because they really want to stress the importance of this, it's about creating the sacred space within yourself. How do you awaken that divine connection so you feel cared for, you feel like you know what you're supposed to do next as far as like spirits guiding you. If you're a spiritual seeker, a mystic like me, I call myself the creative mystic because I'm creative and I'm a mystic. And a mystic is, that you seeking that direct experience with the divine, whatever that form is, okay? So we're going to start with ringing the bell in and saying hello to Archangel Gabriel, and then we're going to do the ritual to invite in that energy. I invite you to come along and do it with me because, again, it is about, most importantly, how do we awaken that sacred space where you are, in your physical space and within yourself, wherever you're watching this, all right? And then we'll get into the message, and then they usually guide me at a point to start painting because Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse aren't quite complete yet. They're getting there, but they're not done, okay? So we're going to start off with ringing the bell, and I always invite you to say hello. Hello, Archangel Gabriel. Hello, the Flying Horse. And you say it as if, like, hello, they're coming into your physical space, but also into your inward space of that connection with them, right? Because everything is energy, everything is consciousness, right? Different words for the same thing. So it's about saying hello first, all right? So let's ring that bell. And as the bell rings, if you have a bell, I invite you to ring it because you're ringing it into your space and you'll feel the vibration even more, all right? But if you don't have your own bell, feel the vibration of this bell. Feel it resonating within your body and in your mind. And as you feel that resonation, know that you are inviting in and connecting with Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse Spirit Guides, all right? So, hello, Archangel Gabriel. Hello, the Flying Horse. Just feel the vibration, allowing that bell, feeling it resonate within your body, within your mind. Saying hello to the connection, to the guidance, to the transformation. Just breathe deeply into your belly, just feeling the resonation of the bell, the vibration, the resonating. All right, and then we're going to light the ghee lamp, and it's about lighting the light, your own inner light. And we light this to invoke again, to welcome in. And welcoming is a little bit different than hello. You know, you can say hello and not give the welcoming energy, right? And what is welcoming energy? Welcoming energy is being open. And so it's so important to be open to the spirit guides, blessings and guidance when we invite them in. So it's about, we light this candle to welcome in Archangel Gabriel and the flying horse, and to actually see the flame for yourself of welcoming that in, because the flame is a transformative power that transforms not only paper to ash, but can help transform you, okay? And so we're going to bring this flame, bringing it to Archangel Gabriel and the flying horse, just letting them know that we're lighting this flame so that we can see their light, that we can envision their light. And then we bring in the Palo Santo. Okay, and if any of you don't know what that is, it's Palo Santo is this wood you burn, and it has just like a heavenly scent to it. I love it. But the smoke helps clear away any downward pulling energy, any negative energy, but also invites in the higher spirit, which we're intentionally inviting in the higher spirit of Archangel Gabriel and the spirit guides, okay? So we're going to do that. Intentionally let the smoke remove any negative energies that I may have infused into it, that may have been infused by other people's thoughts, okay? And then let's clear our own energy, because whatever gets created into this spirit guide is also from our own energies and intention. So you can use the Palo Santo smoke to clear your energy. And even though we aren't in the same physical space, when you open up, things will flow through, the energy will flow through the ethers, through the camera, through the internet, to you, okay? So you be open to clearing your energy, and we clear the energy of the spirit guide portal, because when I create these portals, it's all about creating intentions of blessings, of guidance that the spirit guide has for you. Because each spirit guide that comes is an individualized expression of the one God, right? The oneness, because we're all one, all right? And so now we're going to, I do this chant. We're going to do the Mahamrityunjaya mantra once and the Gayatri mantra once, just to kind of continue to invoke the energy of spirit as we do this, okay? So let's take a moment, and we're going to Om the canvas 3 times. And if you want to do this with me, just again envision it coming through the camera, bringing the upper or higher consciousness of Om. 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 Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugundim Pushtivardhanam Urvarekabandhanat Mrityo Mokshamamritat. Om. We'll do the Gayatri mantra. Om Bo. Om Bhuvaha. Om Swaha. Om Maha. Om Janaha. Om Tapaha. Om Satyam. Om Tatsavitur Vadinyam Bhargo Devasya Dimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om. Welcome, Darlene, from Japan. Wow, you're the first Japanese person I've had on here. So welcome, welcome. So Archangel Gabriel, we're going to check in with Archangel Gabriel and the flying horse to see what they have to say about creativity. But they're telling me right now they want me to start with my own story about being non-visual and becoming a visual person who can actually see spirit guides now in my meditations, and they give me downloads, and I create them all into spirit guides. So you can't see them all, but throughout my studio, they're all over the place. I've got a whole wall of different Mother Marys. I've got a couple of here that you can see, small ones, and they've all come to me through visions and come with a specific message and blessing for you. Because it's all about, people sometimes wonder, like, why do we have spirit guides? Or do I have a spirit guide? They're telling me to talk to you about this, okay? And they want me to really get you to understand that there are all these spirit guides that are these individualized spirits that come to you because that's what you're needing at this time in this place. So, because a lot of times, like, I believe in the philosophy of oneness. We're all one, okay? Everything's one. There's no disconnection. We're all connected. It's just a matter of, are we in delusion that we think we're not connected, or are we actually awake where we are connected? And so the spirit guide, Archangel Gabriel, wants me to tell you about how these different forms that show up, they're saying these different forms that show up to me, to Deepa, come because they know there's different people in different places in their lives, and you need different things. So each person may need a different kind of spirit guide. Some people relate to spirit guides that are animals. Some relate to angels. Some relate to, Mother Mary. It's all different. So they're wanting you to understand that they're coming in these different forms to truly help you to have the higher consciousness so that you can actually create a life you love. So that's why they wanted me to share that with you. That not to fear it, but to welcome it in. And so they want me to share with you now about how creativity really transformed me, myself, and awakened my spiritual gifts, which what I did not know back then was that these spiritual gifts are helping me to actually manifest my purpose. They help me to have the higher guidance that I may need, that maybe I'm not getting when I'm in my little ego self, to go, there's a different way. There's possibility. And so we can get stuck in, right? I bet you can. You get stuck in, can't happen. How's that going to happen? I'm not good enough for that. Or I'm not smart enough, young enough, old enough, whatever the enough is, not enough is. They're saying that they're here to help you know that right where you are enough. And you can actually start to have a life you love. Now, they're talking about the importance of creativity. Now, why is it so important? Because it's one of the things that people don't understand. I don't know about you, but I know I was raised with the idea creativity was something you did extra when you got all the things you should do done, right? The responsible things, the shoulds that you have, your chores that you have, everything. The creativity came last on the list. And it was something that I did not value as a young adult. As a kid, I loved doing it. How about you, right? Finger painting. They wanted me to share that with you. Like, think about when you were a kid. Didn't you love making things? Painting, making things. You let yourself be creative. And if you weren't making something like painting, drawing, finger painting, what did you do? You went out into life and you pretended. You imagined that you were something you wanted to be, like the best basketball player or the best opera singer or the best pop song, singer. Whatever it is that you were pretending. That's your creativity too. So they want you to understand that this power of creativity, you want to feed it. And that most people are starving their creativity. Now, if you see this, are you starving your creativity? Doawek, I'm not sure to see your name, from Poland. Welcome. Thank you for showing up. Give me your name. So if you are like most people, they aren't really feeding their creativity. And if by chance you are a creative person, like you identify like me, like you're a creative mystic, where you're creative and you're spiritual, or maybe you just identify as creative, okay? But maybe you feel creatively stuck sometimes, or especially if you want to do something and get paid for it creatively, that sometimes that money piece can actually put a kibosh on it, right? Well, what the Archangel Gabriel wants you to understand is when you feed your creativity, the big thing you have to set aside is worrying about what you're creating and whether it's good or not. Okay? You cannot sit there and worry about, does this look good? Is everybody going to like it? So he's telling me to share, like, often people who write a hit book, right? They'll get one and then maybe you won't ever see them write another book. And he says what happens with those kind of authors is not because they're not talented. It's because once they get one hit book and they can't write another one, it's because they're so worried about what their publisher will think, about what the editor is going to think. And they're so worried about everything out there that they can't touch the creative flow. Because feeding creativity is actually feeding your spiritual connection, right? Because let's think about it, right? Where does everything's already created. If you know anything about the laws of the universe and about manifestation, they talk about it all the time, right? Everything's already created. So where do we get these downloads? We get them from the ethers where it's already created. And so you have to, when you feed your creativity, then you feed your spiritual connection. Now, are you going to be feeding that creative spirit from higher consciousness or from a lower place, okay? Because sometimes people get kind of stuck on using creativity, like painting and something, as a way of processing their emotions, things they need to heal. And he's not saying there's anything wrong with that, because there's not, okay? He says that's a way to get things out that you need to get out. But what he is recommending is that if you want it to help you develop your gifts, you want to come from that conscious intention of connecting to the divine while you create. That is what I did, okay? I started taking, through my wife's suggestion of taking a painting lesson. I took one, loved it, started painting, but my art teacher used to yell from across the room, Deepa, you got to relax when you paint. Relax, relax. He literally yelled across the room, relax, relax, relax. So when he would say that to me, I thought, well, what can I do to relax? And so I started doing pranayama, because I'm a yoga teacher also, and some yoga postures and doing a prayer before. I really started to bring in my spiritual practices, many of them, okay? And I would really invoke that energy of the divine being awake in me and guiding me as I created, okay? So when I created Yogananda, which is over there, he was my first person I ever painted. If any of you know who Yogananda is, he wrote Autobiography of a Yogi. And when I started to create him, I started to really follow what my heart's desires are. So one of the things that Archangel Gabriel wants you to really get is he's saying that when you feed your creativity, you listen. He's saying you listen and you feed your heart's desires. So what he means by feed is it means that you're actually following it, okay? You listen to that heart's desire. So I had a heart's desire to paint Yogananda so that when people saw that painting, they would feel his energy, his vibration, feel like he's being blessed by him, okay? I had that desire, but a part of me thought like, oh, people are going to think I'm stupid or that this is weird, and so I kept it to myself. Kept it very secretive. Excuse me, I think I need a drink of water, but I forgot to bring myself one. So I kept it secretive, and I'm going to walk out of camera, but I'm going to still let's talk to you. So I kept it very secretive about whether or not, or I should say what I was doing, and I started his paint the canvas and praying and listening to his recordings of his voice singing. And when I was doing that, I kept putting the intention of Yogananda's blessings and energy into the canvas. When I finished, I hung it up to dry. And a week later in the art studio, at that time I painted in an art studio in California where other people went to the studio. And someone saw it who I'd never met. And she sees the Yogananda and says, are you the one who painted Yogananda? And I'm like, oh, yes, I am. And she's like, I have to tell you, when I look at this painting of him, I feel his energy, his vibration, and I feel like I'm being blessed by him. She goes, and I know I'm a disciple of his. And I said, oh, thank you. But on the inside, I was like, oh my God, it worked, it worked, it worked. Okay? So Archangel Gabriel wants you to understand that to feed your creativity, you have to follow what's in your heart. Okay? So not to follow the rules of what they talk about, of how you should paint, or whatever your creativity is, because you don't have to be a painter of, that creates. You can be someone who draws, or you can make woodwork or macrame, okay? But to follow that heart's desire, and the reason why he says it's a heart's desire is because it's not about trying to do something like how somebody else does it, unless it's a heart's desire, okay? But he's saying, but that you follow that heart's desire, that little inkling or that little flash of what you think is the thought that gets dropped into your mind from the ethers that says, you should do this. So that's what happened with me with Yogananda. I got this feeling of like, oh, like you should create him with his power and vibration. So it's like a portal, that they feel him, like he's blessing you. And in order to do it, I didn't tell a soul. I kept it to myself. Was in an art studio with a bunch of people. I put headphones on with his voice in my ears, and then I would paint. I would but I would do it quietly because people were around. But I would I would do stuff. I would do yoga. I did the yoga postures in the studio. People saw me, and I just said, I'm doing it to relax. And I wasn't lying. But as I kept doing these things, I started to have a clear intention of what was coming through my heart of, I'm supposed to create this, okay? And then it went on to another one that I had the desire, which was Our Lady of Guadalupe, and that you can't see Our Lady of Guadalupe right now. But I followed that heart's desire. So feeding your creativity, the power of your creativity, is about, one, allowing yourself to do it, okay? Making it a priority, they're saying, okay? And also listening to those little desires of what you want to do, even if it sounds crazy. Because when I first wanted to do Yogananda, I thought this was crazy. I thought, what are people going to think? But I just was like, I really want to do this. I don't care. I'm going to do it. So from doing that and starting to do other spirit guide portals, okay, of ideas first. It was that Our Lady of Guadalupe already exists as on the tilma in Mexico. Okay, I thought, well, let me make my own replica of her. Same kind of experience kind of happened with Yogananda. Okay, and so then as I kept doing these kind of things, all of a sudden in meditation, from being a non-visual person, visions started coming. I'd be meditating and something would come into my mind's eye, and I'd be like, at first I was like, what's that? And then it would go away because I got too engaged. My conscious ego mind got involved, and it just went, okay, I went back and meditated, kept doing my painting, and then eventually the visions would say, because I stopped saying, what's that? I just would sit in the vision, and then the download would start coming of why they were coming, that this is the blessing they want to infuse. And so I've created the heart chakra angel, and Mother Mary many forms, something called God rays, all these different spirit guide portals that came to me in visions of what I was to do. And so Archangel Gabriel is saying that in order for this year, because if you watch the live before, in 2025, the last one I did, they gave them a message about preparation, okay, and to do certain things. So I'm not going to go through all that because they're not telling me to tell you that. But they're saying in this 2026 now, what you want to do is whether you missed doing the prep or not, it doesn't matter because every new day is a new beginning. And they want you to get that. So that if you didn't quite prepare properly, don't worry about it. New day, new beginning, new energy, new vibration. they're saying, and you have the intention of having that new vibration. So they're saying that if you want to develop your spiritual gifts, you have to feed and take care of your creativity. And they're giving me a little list of things. They're like counting their fingers of what they want me to tell you. So they're telling me that, first of all, you have to make creativity important. You have to like schedule it into your week. You have to say, this is a priority. On this day, on these days, they're saying actually say these days. They want you to do it actually more than once a week. They're saying, so pick it out. You know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You get to choose. But they're saying make creativity an important part of your life. They're saying you work out, right? Well, if you want to be in shape, you have to work out regularly, and you may do it several times a week. You have to in order to stay in shape. Creativity is the same thing. If you want to develop your spiritual gifts, they're telling me to tell you, when mine blew open, where I started to be visual and getting downloads, and then I was also told to like tune in to someone's energy if they want to know their personal spirit guide. You know, so now I create people's personal spirit guides into portals for you know, like you specifically to work with, to help get the spirit guide that's here to help you manifest a purpose or overcome a challenge. They're saying that I was painting pretty much every single day of the week. Now, they're not telling you you have to paint every single day of the week, but they're telling me that you have to do it at least 2 or 3 times a week on a consistent basis. Doesn't have to be the same day every week, but it's better for you, because they're saying you're in a human body, that you get a consistent schedule of this is when I'm committing to doing it on these particular days, okay? And so they're telling you that make it a priority and schedule in the time, because they're saying you probably won't do it if you don't, okay? And they saying the biggest thing that you have to do is make a shift inwardly of knowing that creativity is a path to awakening. Creativity is a path to having a life you love. Creativity is a key spiritual gift, they're telling me, that you have to actually foster it, just like you know about spiritual practices. Or if you want to work out and be a great athlete, you know, anything you want to be great at, what do? You practice. You do it several times a week, right? Well, they're saying if you really desire to grow your gifts, spiritual gifts, and create a life you love, you have to make a commitment to doing creativity at least 2 to 3 times a week, okay? The more, the better, because they're saying that's why Deepa's gifts opened so quickly from the time she started doing it, because she was doing that painting every day. Oh, hi, Kia from New Zealand. Good to see you. So that's the first thing. Make that commitment, okay? The second thing, because it's saying counting down, is you want to let go of the voice of judgment of yourself, of your work, of what you're doing, of whether you're good at it or not. Because they're saying that's the biggest killer of creativity, judging whether something is good or not before it's finished, because you have to honor the process. They're telling me to go get Our Lady of Guadalupe, because they want me to tell you the story about that. So I'm walking out of frame, but I'm going to be right back in. And don't worry, I'm going to keep talking. So I'm going to get Our Lady of Guadalupe. Remember, I said it was my second painting I had done, and was that I had done without it being a vision and meditation. It was an idea that I had about creating Our Lady of Guadalupe. Here she is. She's the first. Our Lady of Guadalupe is actually a miracle down in Mexico, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story because they're not telling me to do that, but they want me to tell you the story of when I created her. So when I created Archangel Gabriel, Our Lady of Guadalupe, I started painting her, and when I first did this background, I was guided to put this gray on, and I put the gray on. And my teacher went by and went, wow, that's ugly. You know? And, you know, now if I was following what he said, I would have been like, oh my God, what did I do? You know? But I said, no, I know that's fine. It's gonna add something to the painting. I started to realize that even if something looked ugly, it would add. So then I started doing more, and as I added more, I realized that what it does is it gives this, like this is yellow, cadmium yellow light and cadmium yellow medium on this background with some other things in it. But without that, it wouldn't have this kind of hue that it has. It would look totally different. And so if I had judged it for the fact that it was gray and it looked ugly, I would have stopped. Okay? So what Archangel Gabriel is saying is that you got to trust the process. Don't judge your work as it's doing and go, oh, it's ugly, I've messed it up. Okay? Because you don't know what can come out. Again, this was another one where I had this great thing where someone said, wow, it's beautiful. You could go, she was saying she was from Mexico. She actually seen the original. She said, you could sell that at a Catholic church. Go there, someone will buy it. And I started laughing. So the idea is what they're wanting you to get is that, the process of creating, there's an ugly stage or a stage that you think it's ugly. It's not really, but we think it's ugly because of, the way we've been taught to judge and to put ourselves down. They're saying to be hard on ourselves. And they're saying in order to allow your creativity to feed it, you gotta quiet that voice. So now they know it's easy to say and hard to do, but what they're saying to do is to become highly aware of when the voice comes up. And what you do when it starts to come up and it says, oh, it's ugly, you say, thank you for sharing, but we're going to continue because we're getting guidance that this is going to look good if we keep doing this. So whatever you're doing, again, it doesn't have to be painting. It could be woodwork, macrame, whatever you're doing, you're creating to allow yourself to let go of that judgmental voice. They're also saying you have to allow yourself to suck, to be great. Now, that's a saying I've had for a long time that Spirit gave to me. Archangel Gabriel says it's very relevant in feeding your creativity. You have to allow yourself to make something that you think looks crummy, that you think you're doing a poor job. Okay? Now, obviously, he doesn't want you to be putting yourself down and think you suck. But if you can just allow it to suck and go, yeah, I don't care for that, but I know this is part of the process. It's going to get better. It's going to look better. Or I'm going to become more skilled, and this is the process of me becoming more skilled. Allow that to happen, because then you let the creativity flow. When you don't try to be good, so they're saying, don't try to be good, don't try to make it great, just try to follow those inner heart inklings of what you're being called to do. So I try to do that with my spirit guides. I have another one that's a heart chakra angel. It's of an angel. I got a vision, and it's one that doesn't look anything like the vision. It was really weird. I got the vision, started to paint, and as I started to paint, I could feel through the paintbrush that I was supposed to paint something different than what I saw. And so I did. And as I was doing it, it was like, oh, this is the heart chakra angel. And I felt like it was going to be Archangel Raphael. Okay, but it wasn't. It was just as I'm painting, it was like, well, this is the heart chakra angel, because if you know anything about yoga, we all have a heart chakra, right? And it's that midpoint, right? We got 3 lower chakras, the first, second, and third, then the fourth, the heart, and then 5, 6, and 7, right? It's that point. Your heart's desire is telling you what is true for you. It is the doorway to your intuition when you can listen to it, okay? And so they're wanting you to help yourself to follow your inklings, your feelings. Now, if you're an empath like me, it'll most likely come through your feeling nature. If you're more visual, it might be an inkling of something that you see. Now, it could be in your mind's eye, but it might be something that you see out in the world that goes, that's giving me a message, like a repeating thing that you see, or an animal that you see that you don't normally see and go, there's a message in that, okay? So they're saying to follow those inklings, all right? And then they're saying to pick something creative you want to do that you've been wanting to do. That's what they're telling me right now. If there's been some kind of creative thing that you've thought, I think I would like to do this, or I want to get back to my drawing, or my painting, or my macrame, to take that up and do a prayer. So they're saying after you, all that stuff they said, there's also now, before you start, you do a prayer of intention. I do a prayer of intention to connect with the spirit guide that I'm doing, and I take that prayer of intention and then let it guide me as I'm doing it. So intention is very important, okay? Because you are co-creating every moment of every day with the spirit guides. Now, you are actually already connected to them. You are one with them already. But you have to allow yourself to be open to them. So if you're making a macrame or woodwork, or maybe you could bake or cook, okay? What spirit guide, what spirit do you belong to? And it could be simply God, okay, that you open up to, but be open, okay? So they're asking me, for any of you that are live, to please, if you'd like, to put your questions in. Do you have anything about what Archangel Gabriel was sharing? I thought the flying horse was going to come in, but it seems like Archangel Gabriel had everything to share so far today. But it's really about that power of creativity, okay? And so it's so important because without it, you're lacking in that spiritual connection, okay? And the reason how it helps you develop your spiritual gifts is because it makes you more open and receptive. Okay, you receive that download of what to create when you pay attention to your inklings. And so then things start to open up for you. I was just double checking to see if there's any questions. So I'm not getting any questions. That's what they had to say, share right now. They're telling me to go ahead and paint for a little bit. I'm going to go drop Our Lady of Guadalupe back up on the wall here. I'm going to be back. We're going to paint now. And often what happens when we paint, the spirit guide, archangels often will come in, Archangel Gabriel or the flying horse will come in and give you a message. If you have any questions, feel free to put one in there. Oh, Lily, are you there? Good to see you again. And I'm glad it was clear on point. But Archangel Gabriel was very specific. And it's interesting because sometimes the spirit guides give me messages to give you guys or want me to share something with you. And I share it, but I don't actually always know what it means. And it's not as clear and concise. He was very concise. He was like showing me, like going through the fingers of here are the points that he wants you to get. And so I'm curious, is anybody willing to commit to this creativity and knowing that it's part of your spiritual growth? It's going to help your spiritual growth. Because he talked about, really making that commitment of doing creativity 2 to 3 times a week. Oh, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to you, Lily. It's good to see you again. So, yeah, really, he said this new year, if you really want to develop your gifts so that you can start to create a life you love, commit to that creativity 2 to 3 times a week. So, I'd love it if anyone wants to share in the comments, whether you're live or if you watch this after the live, of what creativity you're going to practice, and the days you're going to commit to it. Because usually what will happen is if you get off of here and you don't put some kind of commitment down, the week will go by and we'll be back here next Thursday, because we will be here next Thursday. Oh, and just before I forget, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. I always like, and also if you know of anybody who might benefit from these lives or from my pre-done YouTube long-form video, please share it. Be a blessing in the world and share it, because it's really all about how do you share things that inspire you, so that other people can be inspired. And then also turn on your notifications. And of course, if you like to, it always helps to give me a like, a thumbs up. That's my little hand and thumbs up I made with my clay. I love all forms of creativity. That's why I tell you it doesn't have to be painting. Sometimes I get involved, do clay or something else just for fun. So Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse really want you to commit this year to doing the creativity on a regular basis. And we're going to be here next Thursday. Hopefully we'll be finishing up Archangel Gabriel pretty soon. I don't know if we're going to do another Spirit Guide live. I probably will be. I've been kind of feeling like we might do I might do this Mother Mary. I haven't asked and tuned in and asked her if she wants to be on the live, but I might do this one. I think I showed this the last time I was on, but you can't really see. It's just penciled in lightly, and there's a ball of light above it. Oh, good, Karen Wilson. Yes, thank you, Lily, for committing. And yes, Karen. Yeah, I have a creativity as it's a path of awakening to me. It's what awakened my gifts, and whenever I get away from it, because I'm human, I get into, like, we have a business, my wife and I, where I also do spiritual mentoring and personal spirit guide portals, and teach classes sometimes, and I'm working on a membership to get going. And so sometimes I get caught up in all those things that you got to do, and pretty soon I go, except for my live, I haven't painted in a week or two. And so I'm going to take this message that they're giving to Heart 2 and start making my priorities, because I've had times where I paint every day of the week and times where I'm painting on my live, and so I'm like, okay, I need to listen to this message that they're giving to all of you who watch this and take it to my own. Like, I got to start writing it in and committing to it, because I don't do it perfectly either. And that's the thing. We're all works in progress, and it's about how do you accept yourself where you are or what you're going through, because I know part of the reason why I haven't kept the commitment too is I've had my own emotional things going on with my mother, because she's had a lot of health issues and been up and down, and one minute they tell me she's dying and one minute they tell me she's okay, and so those emotional things, you have to work with yourself when you're having them, and be kind to yourself and loving to yourself, because they take more energy than you realize. At least it has for me. I can't speak for you, but it has for me. So I'd love it if you guys want to share what you're going to commit to doing. Like Karen, if you're still on. What's your form of art that you want to do and that you're committing to? And what days. And remember, one of those key things you got to do when you're doing it is do the prayer and the intention before. So like, if you just got on, you didn't see me do all the prayer and intention earlier. I also do the prayer intention even before I get on the live, because I want to be a clear channel to give you the message of what the spirit guides are saying. So it really is about that prayer and intention is really important. Excuse me. I have had a cough for several weeks now that just doesn't want to leave. I have no fever, no nothing, but the cough doesn't want to leave. And so sometimes that cough starts to aggravate my voice, which is what's happening right now. So that's why you hear so much junk in my chest. Sorry. But the great thing about doing it live is, I know I'm not contagious or anything at this point, but if I was, you wouldn't probably get that through the ethers. Knitting sweaters. Wow. That's great. That takes I would think some real patience. I've only done knitting when I was a kid, and I only made like a scarf. And I will tell you right now, I don't remember how to knit anymore. But when I see like sweaters and things like that, that would be really cool. Karen, if you like made a sweater that was like, you blessed it with the energy of like love or joy or harmony or peace, and that when people wore it, they would feel that energy. I bet you could do that. That download just came in through Archangel Gabriel. So I'm curious if you'd be open to doing that. Like what he's saying. He's saying like, oh, she could create these sweaters that carry the vibration of a blessing, of one of the divine presence aspects. So all the divine presence aspects are love, joy, peace, calmness, wisdom, power, light, and sound. So you could pick one and say, okay, I'm infusing this into my sweater. How cool would that be? Love to hear if you're open to doing something like that. I don't have as much time to paint today because I do have an appointment at 5 o'clock, so I am going to have to get off. I just want to make sure. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask. Questions about anything that Archangel Gabriel talked about earlier, or any other aspect. I could do a lot of painting today just because they were really giving me a lot to say today, which is more. Usually I talk for about 10 or 15 minutes and then get going on painting, and they were just kind of talking away about what they wanted me to say to you. Ah, question, okay. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that. Oh, I mean, wait. Okay, Lily, it was you who actually. Okay. Oh, okay. That's very cool. I like that. So. Well, when you paint one of those sweaters, you could show me a picture of it on the YT, my community post on YouTube. That way, or send me an email. Yeah, I'd love it, either one. Because with the picture, it'd be very cool. I think for some reason, this is not the right color, but we're going to try it anyway. Right now, it's all about little fine details they want me to do. No big sweeping changes. All right, let's see. Free after I love my sweaters. Well, I'm a big proponent of people doing what's true for them. like their heart's desire. That's part of the thing that I really like help clients with, is helping people step into what is it that they really want to do, and what's the kind of light they want to be in the world, whether they want to create in the world. And so if the spirit guides and I can do, say something that inspires you, I'm glad. And yeah, it's all about how do we help. I mean, any of the spirit guide portals I mentioned earlier, not all of them that I mentioned, but I think a lot of them, they're on my website if you guys want to go look at them, because I didn't bring and carry them all over. Otherwise, I'd been running off the screen a lot more than I was. But it's at deepaloo.com/sacred art if you wanted to go look at them. And I sell what they're called G-clays, which are high-end art reproductions. So it's just basically done on like archival paper, so they don't degrade fast like copy paper does. And they also, the ink that it's printed on a printer that doesn't fade as easily as like if you did at your own home printer, you know how that is. So that's why I let people know they're G-clays, but nobody knows really what a G-clay is unless you've been in the art world for a while. In fact, I think they might even have a new term that they use on it, because they're always coming out with different new technology, different terms. Oh, look at this. One of the things with painting oil paints is you have to step away. Oh, that looks better. I'll do a little bit darker on the sides. So, one of the things is keeping a steady hand. So curious how everybody's New Year is and how you're doing on your New Year's intentions. I always talk about intentions. Some people have resolutions, but I like intentions because intentions are about, are you directionally heading in the right intended direction? Because it's not about being perfect. Resolutions, why so many people don't complete them is because they'll like make a resolution to start going to the gym, and then when they fall off, they think, oh, I messed up, now I can't keep my resolution. And it's not true. You just start over, because every new day is a new beginning. Every moment is a new beginning. So it's like, so when you make an intention, it's just like, am I facing the right direction? And this was in a book. I can't remember the book that it was, but it was about like if you miss something, like you have a goal or something to do something, like work out every day or whatever your goal is, okay? And you like miss it. Like you don't beat yourself up. You just make sure you do it the next day, because they were saying how if you miss one day, it's like, oh, it's like whatever, But if you miss like 2 days and 3 days and 4 days, and it's becoming a habit. And it's about like owning the energy of like, oh yeah, wait, I can create a new habit. And that I'm committed to like, yeah, being human, and if I miss something, it's okay. But I'm not going to create the habit of not showing up and the habit of not doing it. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but oh, thank you for the love, whoever put that up. I can't tell, but thank you. also, I'd love it if somebody have anything that you guys would like to see alive beyond. You know, mine's life has been totally on just creating this spirit guide portal, but Archangel Gabriel is asking me to ask you, like, do you have something that you'd like to hear more about, or that you'd like to learn more? Or could be a class I teach later. I don't know if it'd be on YouTube. Depends on the class, how in depth it is that you want, but you know, some things, if it's simple, I can do it on YouTube. Some things I do paid classes sometimes. So they're asking me just to ask you real quick, any questions before I wrap it up? If you have a quick question, Archangel Gabriel will answer it. Go ahead and type it in. Gotta probably paint some black, mix some black at some point. I usually mix black. So, but yeah, any questions from anybody? Let me double check this. We're not doing a lot of painting today because I ended up getting guidance from them for a lot, for message shows. Big message, I think. His legs definitely are not done at this point. But be adding more stuff to it as we do it. There. No questions today. All right. Well, we're going to definitely be live next week, Thursday. And hopefully I can finish Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse. We'll see. Those little details that have to be done. And I'm seeing the questions coming in. So remember what Archangel Gabriel talked about, the creativity. I'd love it if you guys would share like what you do during the week. Like put a picture up on my, community on the post area of like what creativity you're doing. If you don't want to show a picture of it, you don't have to, but a picture of it would really be good for you. I mean, in the sense of like, I'm allowing it to be seen, even though you might not like the way it looks, or even though it might not be done, because remember, it's about how do you let yourself be in the process, allow it to suck, not have that voice, criticize or judge you. And so allowing it to be seen in the process, that was one of the things doing this live of creating Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse. I've never done it live like this. When I was in the art studio, yes, there were other students around that were maybe seeing what I was painting, but everybody was kind of in their own little world. And so this was a big deal for me to actually share this process with you guys of creating it, because, like I'm still not quite done, but I see things that, like look like mistakes, or that don't look, I'm not exactly liking the leg part right now. I'm thinking I need to get the knee up a little higher, because seeing the vision and then creating in a two-dimensional canvas, it's not something that like I just go, whoop, it's easy. It's easy in that they guide me what to do, but my judgmental voice will come in, not judging, I should say. I'm not judging it's good or bad, but I'm discerning and going, maybe the knees actually would be way up here. And then we'll see how it goes, but that's my ego. And so then I have to keep rebringing myself back. And so it was a big deal for me to be able to go, okay, I'm going to let people see my process of what I'm doing, creating these spirit guide portals. And it actually has been a really fun process. And so that's why I'm going to check in with this Mother Mary with she's a healing Mother Mary that's here to help bless you with healing energy, because part of what's unique about my whole self with the spiritual journey is that if you really want to have spiritual growth, you really want to become more enlightened or become enlightened, let God realize enlightened self, your true self, healing is a part of it. A lot of people are into manifestation and spiritual paths, and they want to bypass the healing part. And I've watched it doesn't work. In my own life, it doesn't work. You have to heal the things. And healing is about letting go. But you can't let go of something that you haven't acknowledged you need to let go of. And so you have to acknowledge what the thing was that happened that created the emotional wound, the belief that keeps, pervading your, or I should say, well, pervading your life is what's coming through, pervading your life, because it's such a wound that it just keeps bringing you back into the past. And so it's about how do you heal that and let that go. And that is part of my new membership that's going to be happening, called the Creative Mystic Temple. And it's going to have that healing component in there. There's going to be 4 pillars, and it's all about giving you the support and the community that you need, and the knowledge, the higher consciousness knowledge, and the teachings of what's from my own personal experience too, of how we can help you in your path of awakening. And Archangel Gabriel has talked today about one of the key things is creativity, the power of that creativity, and your commitment to actually feed it. All right? So since, okay, Lou, thank you so much for that comment, that share. Thank you so much to everybody. It's been a blessing to get to do this. And again, I will see you next week, 3:30 Thursday. I don't know what the date is. Is it the 15th or the 16th? But it's definitely Thursday next week, 3:30 Eastern Time. And blessings. All right. See you guys later.